The sky lit up with strange colors that night. People in cities across Earth pointed at the unusual glow. Military bases went on high alert. Something was entering Earth's atmosphere, but it wasn't following any known flight path. Captain Jack Harrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the radar screen. The small blip moved erratically, like a leaf caught in the wind. "Sir, the object is slowing down. It appears to be trying to establish orbit," said the radar operator. Jack nodded. "Keep all weapons ready, but don't fire unless I give the order." The year was 2157. Humans had built bases on Mars and Europa, but had never met aliens. Many people believed aliens didn't exist. Others feared them. Jack wasn't sure what to think, but he knew his job was to protect Earth. The strange ship finally stopped moving and just floated in space. It was small, about the size of an old Earth bus, and damaged. Black scorch marks covered one side. No weapons were visible. "Sir, we're receiving a signal," the communications officer said. A series of musical tones filled the bridge. They repeated in the same pattern 3 times. "That's not random noise," Jack said. "They're trying to talk to us." After 6 hours of careful approach and basic communication attempts, Jack made a decision. He would lead a team onto the alien ship. They wore protective suits in case the air wasn't breathable. The inside of the alien ship surprised them. The corridors were small, with ceilings barely 5 feet high. Soft light came from the walls themselves. The air tasted sweet when Jack finally decided to risk removing his helmet. They found the aliens in a central room. Jack's team gasped. The creatures were tiny, standing only 3 feet tall. Their bodies looked like thin glass with light moving inside them. They had large eyes that seemed to show fear. One of the aliens stepped forward. It made gentle movements with its hands. A device on its chest spoke in a mechanical voice. "We are the Lumari. We come seeking help. We are refugees." Over the next few days, the Lumari told their story. They came from a peaceful world far away. Their bodies were fragile, but their minds were advanced. They had created amazing technology without ever building weapons. Then the Korzak Empire found them. The Korzak were large, strong aliens who believed weakness deserved no mercy. They attacked the Lumari worlds. They took many as slaves. The rest ran. The Korzak call us the weakest species in the galaxy, the Lumari leader named Eri explained. They said we were not worthy of the resources we used. Dr. Olivia Martinez was the first scientist allowed to meet the Lumari. She studied their biology with gentle tests they permitted. "Their bodies are amazing," she told Jack. "They process energy in ways I've never imagined. But they're right about being physically weak. A strong wind could hurt them." The United Earth government debated what to do. Some military leaders warned this could be a trick. What if dangerous aliens were using these weak-looking creatures to gain trust? But most people felt differently. The Lumari shared knowledge freely. They helped improve Earth's technology. They asked for so little in return, just a safe place to live. "We should help them," Jack said during a key meeting. "If we turn away those in need, what does that say about humanity?" The vote was taken. Earth would offer the Lumari a home. No one knew then how this choice would change everything. No one guessed that these fragile beings, these refugees called the galaxy's weakest species, would soon help transform humans into something extraordinary. As the Lumari settled into their new home on Earth, Dr. Martinez continued her research. She had no idea she was about to make a discovery that would reshape the future of both species and challenge the power balance of the entire galaxy. 6 months passed since the Lumari arrived on Earth. They lived in special homes built for their small size and delicate bodies. Most humans found them friendly and smart. Children especially loved to visit the Lumari settlements to see how they glowed with soft colors when they were happy. Dr. Olivia Martinez worked every day in her lab studying Lumari biology. Her assistant, Eric Powell, helped her with tests and took care of the lab equipment. One Tuesday morning, Eric was carrying a tray of Lumeri tissue samples when he tripped. The tray fell, and several glass containers broke. A strange blue liquid splashed onto Eric's arms. "Are you okay?" Dr. Martinez asked, rushing to help clean up. "I'm fine," Eric said. "Just clumsy today." They cleaned the mess and continued working. But 3 hours later, Eric felt strange. His heart beat faster. His skin felt warm. He could hear conversations from the hallway, as if people were standing right next to him. "Dr. Martinez," Eric called. "Something's happening to me." Dr. Martinez ran tests on Eric. His strength had doubled. He could hear sounds from 2 rooms away. A small cut on his hand from the broken glass had already healed. "This is impossible," she said, looking at the test results. "Your cells are changing. Something in the Lumeri samples affected you." The next day, Eric was even stronger. He could lift a desk with one hand. His eyes could see clearly in near darkness. Dr. Martinez invited Eri, the Lumeri leader, to the lab. Eri examined Eric with special Lumeri devices. "This has never happened before," Eri said, his body glowing with excitement. "The tiny particles we release, what you call biophotons, are changing his body. In all our travels, no species has reacted this way to us." More tests showed that Lumeri naturally released special particles. These particles did nothing to most alien species, but in humans, they triggered sleeping genes, making the body stronger and faster. "It's like our bodies were waiting for this," Dr. Martinez said. The government quickly organized volunteer tests. Commander Samantha Reeves led a group of military members who agreed to try controlled exposure to Lumeri particles. The results amazed everyone. After 2 weeks, the volunteers could lift 3 times more weight than before, run twice as fast, heal cuts and bruises in days instead of weeks, see clearly in almost total darkness, hear sounds from much farther away. Even more surprising, the Lumeri gained benefits too. When they stayed near their human partners, they became healthier and smarter. Their fragile bodies became slightly stronger. Their minds worked even faster than before. "It's a perfect match," Dr. Martinez explained to government officials. "Both species help each other." Some scientists worried about side effects or long-term problems, but all tests showed the changes were stable and safe. The military saw immediate uses for these enhanced humans. Soldiers who could heal quickly and had super strength would be valuable in dangerous situations. The Lumeri had mixed feelings about this. They had always been peaceful. The idea of helping humans become better fighters troubled them. "We escaped violence," Eri said during a meeting. "We don't want to create more of it." Commander Reeves understood their concern. "We see this as defense, not aggression," she explained. "Humans have always needed to protect themselves. With your help, we can do that better." As they talked, news arrived that changed everything. A huge ship had appeared at the edge of the solar system. It wasn't alone. 5 more followed behind it. "They found us," Eri whispered, his body turning pale gray with fear. "The Korzak have found us." The accidental discovery of symbiosis between humans and Lumeri had happened just in time. No one knew it yet, but Earth would soon need every advantage it could get against the coming threat. The alien ships didn't attack. Instead, they sent a message. They represented something called the Galactic Concord, a group of 37 spacefaring species that govern most of the known galaxy. Earth's leaders gathered in the United Nations building in New York to meet the visitors. The room fell silent when they entered. The aliens were nothing like the gentle Lumeri. 3 tall, lizard-like creatures led the group. Their scales were dark green with red markings. Sharp teeth showed when they spoke. These were the Korzak. Behind them came insect-like beings with 4 arms and large compound eyes. These were called the Vexra. "We have been watching your world," said the tallest Korzak. His translator device made his voice sound like rocks grinding together. "You have given shelter to runaway Lumeri. They belong to the Empire." President Laura Chen stood her ground. The Lumari are refugees seeking asylum. They are under Earth's protection now. The Korsak made a hissing sound that might have been laughter. Protection? From humans? Your species is barely out of its planetary cradle. He explained that Earth could join the Galactic Concord, but only as a junior member. Earth would need to pay heavy taxes and resources and obey Concord laws. And they would need to return all Lumari. We refuse these terms, President Chen said firmly. The Korsak's eyes narrowed. Then we invoke the old tradition. Trial by combat in the great arena on Nexus Prime. If your champions win, Earth can join as a full member and keep the weak ones. The human leaders discussed this privately. Fighting seemed primitive, but it was a chance to gain equal standing in the galactic community. And if they refused, the aliens might simply take what they wanted by force. We accept, President Chen announced. We will send our champions. The military selected 5 soldiers who had bonded with Lumari for the longest time. Major Ryan Boyd would lead the team. Lieutenant Zoe Franklin was the weapons expert. Sergeant Alan Kelly specialized in hand-to-hand combat. Corporal Denise Wright was their scout. Private Lucas Garcia was their medic. Each soldier carried their Lumari partner in a special backpack. The backpack protected the fragile aliens while allowing the close contact needed for maximum enhancement. Remember, we don't just fight for Earth, Major Boyd told his team as they trained. We fight for a new partnership in the stars. The team trained for 2 weeks. They learned how to use their enhanced speed and strength. They practiced fighting together, using their Lumari partners' senses to detect attacks from any direction. The great arena on Nexus Prime was enormous. Thousands of aliens from many worlds filled the seats. Most came to laugh at the humans and their pets. In the first match, Lieutenant Franklin faced a warrior with 4 arms and blade-like hands. The alien was fast, but Franklin was faster. She moved like water, dodging attacks and striking with perfect timing. The crowd fell silent as she won. One by one, the human team defeated opponents from different species. Some were twice their size. Others had natural weapons like poison or electric shocks. But the human Lumari pairs adapted to each challenge. The final match pitted Major Boyd against the Korsak champion, a 12-foot giant with armor no weapon had ever pierced. The crowd expected the human to die quickly. Instead, Boyd moved with impossible speed. He found the tiny gaps between armor plates. His enhanced strength let him flip the massive alien. His Lumari partner, Kel, sensed every attack before it came. When Boyd won, the arena was completely silent. Then one alien began to clap. Others joined. Soon the sound was deafening. The Concord leaders had no choice. Earth would join as an equal member. The Lumari would stay under human protection. But many aliens now looked at humans with fear instead of contempt. No one had ever seen warriors like these human Lumari pairs. And this was just the beginning. 2 years passed since the victory in the great arena. Earth had changed in many ways. The human-Lumari bond grew stronger with time, and more people volunteered to partner with the aliens. Colonel Natalie Rodriguez walked through the training field of the Guardian Corps base in Arizona. She watched as her soldiers ran 5 times faster than normal humans. They jumped over 15-foot walls without effort. Some lifted small vehicles as part of their exercises. Status report, she asked Captain Harris, her second in command. All units are exceeding expectations, Colonel, he replied. The newest pairs can now operate for 3 days without sleep. Healing rates continue to improve. The military called these enhanced soldiers Guardians. Each Guardian carried a Lumari partner in a special harness. The harnesses were no longer just backpacks. They were advanced suits that protected the Lumari while maximizing the bond between the species. What surprised everyone was how the Lumari themselves had changed. Once afraid of any conflict, they now helped plan defense strategies. They remained gentle by nature, but developed a strong protective instinct for their human partners and Earth. The latest test results from Dr. Martinez's team, Captain Harris said, handing Rodriguez a tablet. She read the report with growing excitement. Long-term bonded pairs were developing new abilities. Major Boyd and his Lumari partner, Kel, could now share thoughts without speaking. Other veteran pairs showed signs of being able to sense energy fields and even manipulate small objects without touching them. Has the settlement in Wyoming reported anything new? Rodriguez asked. The Wyoming settlement was the first place where Lumari lived among humans as equals, not just as military partners. The mountain environment was rich in minerals the Lumari enjoyed, and a remote location gave them peace. Yes, Colonel. The civilian pairs are showing the same advanced developments, but with interesting differences. Their emotional bonds are stronger, while our military pairs have better tactical coordination. A loud alarm suddenly broke the morning calm. Red lights flashed across the base. Emergency transmission from Europa Station, a communications officer shouted. They're under attack. In the command center, a grainy video showed 3 unknown ships firing on the human outpost orbiting Jupiter's moon. The Europa defense team was fighting back, but they were outnumbered. The ships match Korzak design, an intelligence officer reported, but they're not using Korzak identification codes. They're flying with no flags. Colonel Rodriguez knew what this meant. The Korzak are testing our defenses while maintaining deniability. She turned to her staff. Prepare the rapid response team. We launch in 30 minutes. Guardian teams boarded their ships. Each craft was designed to amplify the human-Lumari connection, with special chambers for the Lumari that connected to their partners' battle suits. As they approached Europa, the mysterious ships were retreating. The station had suffered damage but remained operational. They took something. The station commander reported. They broke into Lab Section 4 and stole research samples. Rodriguez felt a chill. Lab Section 4 housed Lumari biological research. They want to understand the symbiosis, she realized. Maybe even replicate it. Meanwhile, in Wyoming, Dr. Martinez was showing visiting scientists from Earth universities the progress of the civilian Lumari settlement. The aliens had built beautiful crystal structures that caught the sunlight, creating rainbow patterns across the valley. Their art is spreading among human communities, she explained, and humans are teaching them music and literature. It's a true cultural exchange. Her tour was interrupted by an urgent message. The lab break-in at Europa required her expertise, but there was more. Intelligence reports showed unusual activity at Korzak military bases near Earth space. Ship movements, troop buildups. They're not accepting our place in the Concord, Dr. Martins said quietly. This is just the beginning. The human-Lumari partnership faced its first real test. The Guardians had proven themselves in the arena, but real war was different, and the Korzak, masters of conquest for centuries, would not be defeated easily. 4 years had passed since the Lumari first arrived on Earth. Small attacks on human outposts became more common. The attackers always wore plain black armor with no markings, but everyone knew they were Korzak soldiers. General Ryan Boyd, now the leader of all Guardian forces, studied the map of recent attacks. His Lumari partner, Kel, floated beside him in a special anti-gravity chair. They no longer needed physical contact to maintain their bond. Their connection had grown so strong they could be several feet apart. They're not trying to destroy us, Boyd said, pointing to attack patterns. They're trying to capture Lumari. Every raid targets research stations or transport ships carrying Lumari. Kel's body glowed with a deep blue color, showing concern. They still seek to understand our bond. They believe it is a weapon they can use. Intelligence reports confirmed this theory. The Korzak Empire couldn't accept that humans, a young species, had gained such power so quickly. They wanted the secret of symbiosis for themselves. Boyd received an urgent message from Commander Alan Kelly, who now led a special operations team. Kelly and his unit had found a secret Korzak research facility on a small moon near the edge of human space. We need to see what they're doing there, Boyd decided. Kelly's team of 6 Guardians approached the facility in a stealth ship. Their Lumari partners helped mask their energy signature, making them nearly invisible to sensors. Inside the facility, they found something horrible. 20 Lumari were held in special containers. Machines pumped out their natural particles and injected them into captured alien test subjects. Most of the subjects were dead or dying. The Korzak scientists couldn't replicate the special connection that worked with humans. "Free them," Kelly ordered. His team quickly released the imprisoned Lumari and gathered all research data they could find. As they escaped, Kelly's Lumari partner, Mira, discovered something in the Korzak computer. "They plan to attack Earth directly," she told him. "They have built a massive fleet. They call it the Purity Armada." The Korzak had convinced several other species that the human-Lumari bond was unnatural and dangerous. They formed an alliance called the Purity Compact, dedicated to separating the two species and stopping human expansion. Back on Earth, Ambassador Greg Fletcher tried to gain support from the Galactic Concord. He and his Lumari advisor, Nim, addressed the Concord Assembly on their central world. "The Korzak claim we are creating monsters," Fletcher told the gathered aliens. "They say our bond is unnatural. But I offer to show you the truth." He invited curious delegates to temporarily bond with Lumari volunteers. Most refused, but a few brave ones agreed. They experienced the shared consciousness and mutual respect that defined the human-Lumari connection. One delegate, a plant-like being called a Florian, was deeply moved by the experience. "This is not conquest or control," she told the assembly. "It is true symbiosis. Both species remain themselves while growing stronger together." Her words swayed some moderate factions. But the Korzak delegation was not present. They had already made their decision. On a massive warship at the edge of Earth's solar system, the Korzak Supreme Commander addressed his officers. "The abomination must be cleansed," he said. "Separate the species. Take the Lumari for study. Eliminate any human resistance." His second-in-command looked worried. "The Guardians have proven difficult to defeat, Supreme Commander." The Korzak leader bared his sharp teeth in what passed for a smile. "They have never faced our full might. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. These humans are children playing with power they don't understand." The invasion fleet began to move. 300 warships headed toward Earth. The Korzak were confident of victory, but they had never fought an enemy quite like the human-Lumari partnership before. Warning systems across Earth flashed red as the Korzak fleet entered the solar system. 300 warships against Earth's 70 defenders. The odds looked bad. "All Guardian units to battle stations," General Boyd ordered from the command center in orbit around Earth. "Civilian Lumari evacuation to underground shelters." Earth's defense fleet moved to meet the invaders. Each ship had been redesigned to work with human-Lumari pairs. The pilots and their partners shared awareness of everything happening around them. The Korzak ships fired first. Bright energy beams cut through space, but the Earth ships moved in ways the Korzak had never seen before. They twisted and turned impossibly fast, almost like they knew where shots would go before they were fired. "Their movements make no sense," the Korzak fleet commander growled. "No ship can change direction that quickly." What he didn't understand was that Lumari could sense energy patterns. They felt the power building in enemy weapons seconds before they fired. This gave human pilots precious time to react. Colonel Zoe Franklin led Sunspear Squadron, 20 of the best Guardian pilots. Instead of running from the larger ships, they flew directly at them. "Follow me in," she told her team. "Remember your training." The small Earth fighters landed on the hulls of Korzak capital ships. Teams of Guardians cut their way inside. The Korzak had planned for space battles, not boarding actions. Inside the enemy ships, the Guardians showed their true power. Each human-Lumari pair moved as one perfect fighting unit. The humans provided strength and combat skills. The Lumari provided sensing abilities and tactical awareness. "They know where we are before we see them," a Korzak soldier gasped as his team was quickly defeated. Despite these advantages, Earth was still badly outnumbered. The defense fleet lost ships one by one. Some Guardian teams didn't return from their boarding missions. The battle reached Europa Station, the last major defense before Earth itself. General Boyd and 5,000 Guardians prepared for what might be their final stand. "We cannot let them reach Earth," Boyd told his troops. "The future of both our species depends on this moment." The Korzak flagship, a massive vessel twice the size of any other ship, led the attack on Europa. Boyd watched it approach on the station's screens. "Kel," he said to his Lumari partner, "remember what happened during training last month?" Kel glowed with understanding. "The energy field, but we've never tried it at this scale." During recent training, Boyd and Kel had discovered something new. By perfectly aligning their minds, they could generate and direct energy fields that interfered with electronics. It was small scale, barely enough to disable a computer. But what if it could be bigger? All veteran pairs, Boyd called over the station's communication system. "We're going to try something new. Follow my lead." 100 human Lumari pairs who had been bonded for over 3 years gathered in a large chamber facing the approaching flagship. They joined hands, forming a circle with their Lumari partners floating at the center. Boyd closed his eyes. He felt Kel's mind touching his. Then he felt others joining, 100 human minds and 100 Lumari consciousnesses all connecting. Through the station windows, observers saw a strange sight. A ripple in space, like heat waves over hot ground, spread from Europa Station toward the Korzak flagship. On board the enemy ship, systems began to fail. Weapons went offline. Engines stopped. Life support flickered. The Korzak Supreme Commander stared in disbelief as his mighty vessel drifted powerless. "What kind of weapon is this?" he demanded. No one could answer him. They had never seen anything like it before. Across the battlefield, other Korzak ships suffered similar problems as more Guardian pairs attempted the same technique. It wasn't perfect. Many couldn't manage it, and some ships were unaffected. But it was enough to shift the balance. The Supreme Commander made a difficult decision. "All ships, full retreat." His voice was bitter with anger. "We must reconsider our approach to these creatures." The Purity Compact fleet turned and fled, leaving behind damaged and disabled vessels. The first major attack on Earth had failed. But Boyd knew this wasn't the end. The Korzak would return, better prepared next time. The war had only just begun. 10 years had passed since the Lumari first came to Earth. The great battle at Europa Station changed everything. After their defeat, the Korzak Empire began to fall apart. Many worlds they had conquered saw a chance for freedom and rebelled. The Galactic Concord changed too. Earth now held an important position on the Council. Many species that once looked down on humans now sought their friendship and help. General Ryan Boyd stood on a platform in Washington, D.C. Beside him floated Kel, his Lumari partner for the past decade. They were attending the opening ceremony for the new Galactic Guardian headquarters. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," Boyd said quietly. Kel's body glowed with warm golden light. "From refugees to partners to family. Our peoples have grown together in ways no one imagined." The Guardian Corps had become the Galactic Guardian Initiative, a peacekeeping force that protected all species in the Concord. They focused on helping vulnerable worlds and preventing conflicts before they started. Scientists still studied why the symbiosis worked so perfectly between humans and Lumari, but not with other species. Dr. Peter Nguyen, who took over from Dr. Martinez, had a theory. "It's like a puzzle," he explained during his speech at the ceremony. "Human and Lumari biology evolved separately but fit together perfectly. Other species can gain some benefits from Lumari contact, but only humans achieve the complete bond." The oldest human Lumari pairs now showed abilities that seemed almost magical. Some could see brief glimpses of the future. Others could move small objects without touching them. Some could even heal injuries in others by directing energy. These advanced abilities were rare, but they showed how the bond continued to evolve. After the ceremony, Boyd and Kell visited the Wyoming settlement, now a beautiful city where humans and Lumeri lived together. Crystal buildings sparkled next to traditional human homes. Children of both species played together in parks. "Remember when we first met?" Boyd asked as they watched the sunset from a hillside. "You were so afraid. Your people were called the weakest in the galaxy." Kell's light pulsed with amusement. "And now they say we helped create the strongest defenders the stars have ever known." A new Lumeri ship arrived at Earth's orbital station that evening. Unlike the damaged refugee vessel from years ago, this was a proper passenger ship. It carried Lumeri from distant colonies who had heard about the partnership with humans. Young people from Earth gathered at the docking bay, eager to meet potential new partners. The bonding process was now carefully managed, with compatibility tests and training programs. Not every human and Lumeri could bond successfully, but those who did gained the special connection that had changed both species. On the observation deck, Ambassador Fletcher watched with Nim, his Lumeri advisor and friend of many years. The Korzak thought strength only meant physical power and conquest, Fletcher said. They never understood that different kinds of strength exist. Nim glowed softly. What they saw as our weakness, our gentleness, our preference for peace, our focus on community, was exactly what humans needed to balance their own warrior nature. And what we lacked, physical resilience, decisive action, the will to fight when necessary, you provided, Fletcher added. Together, we became something greater than either could be alone. Below them, a young human woman met a young Lumeri for the first time. They approached each other carefully, curiously. The human extended her hand. The Lumeri reached out with a glowing tendril. When they touched, both smiled in sudden recognition. Another partnership was beginning. Another step forward for both species. The galaxy's weakest species and their human protectors had become something no one expected. Not just powerful defenders, but pioneers of a new way for different beings to live and grow together. This was their true strength, and it was just the beginning.